Today is Thursday, March 5th, 2026, and today is National Cheese Doodle Day, which feels like a snack that exists purely because someone asked, what if air was edible? Welcome to This Day in History from, wait, that's random. I'm your host, C.L. Burns. On this date in 1770, a confrontation between British soldiers and American colonists in Boston turned deadly. Tensions had been building for years. British troops had been stationed in Boston to enforce laws and maintain order, but their presence was seen by many colonists as an occupying force. On that night, a crowd gathered around a small group of soldiers. Words were exchanged. Objects were thrown. In the confusion, soldiers fired into the crowd. 5 colonists were killed. What made this event significant wasn't just the violence, it was the reaction. News spread quickly. Engravings and newspaper accounts circulated throughout the colonies. The event became known as the Boston Massacre. It shifted perception. The presence of soldiers was no longer seen as protection, but as a threat. Trust, once broken, is difficult to restore, which brings us to another moment when trust becomes fragile. This time, inside the financial system. On this date in 1933, newly inaugurated President Franklin D. Roosevelt declared a nationwide bank holiday. At the height of the Great Depression, banks were collapsing. Not always because they lacked assets, but because depositors had lost confidence. People rushed to withdraw their money all at once. Banks, which operate by lending deposits while keeping only a fraction on hand, couldn't meet sudden mass withdrawals. Even healthy banks failed under the pressure. Roosevelt's solution was simple, but dramatic. He temporarily closed every bank in the country. Not to destroy the system, but to pause it. During the closure, banks were inspected. Only stable institutions were allowed to reopen. The pause restored confidence. When banks reopened, people began depositing money again. Sometimes stability isn't restored by force, but by interruption. Which brings us to a moment when access to powerful systems becomes personal. On March 5th, 1981, the Sinclair ZX81 home computer was released. Before this, computers were large, expensive machines used primarily by institutions, universities, corporations, governments. The ZX81 changed that. It was affordable, compact, accessible to individuals. Its processor excluded instructions stored in memory. Users could write programs in BASIC, a simple programming language. The computer didn't just perform tasks, it allowed people to create them. It turned computing from something you used into something you controlled. When you step back and look at these moments together, you guessed it, Dustin, a pattern begins to appear. A military presence losing public trust. A financial system stabilizing through pause. And computer power shifting from institutions to individuals. Each moment reflects the same underlying tension. Who controls systems and who trusts them? Anyway, those are the things we ended up uncovering today. Stop by tomorrow and we'll see what the world hands us. If you want to know more about me or the work I do, you can find everything at waitthat'srandom.com. I'm C.L. Burns, and I appreciate you stopping by.